Hey there, fight fans. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this episode of Combat Sports Talk. Welcome to Combat Sports Talk, a podcast dedicated to UFC and Bellator discussion, the MMA community, and combat sports in general. I'm your host, Ryan Smith, and joining me this week is the man with the keys to victory, Jon Keys. And he is muted. What's up with this? Is he muted?
I am not muted. You took too long, man, to answer. You didn't even know who you were talking to, man. God.
Jon will
Hello,
not be silent.
I will not be silenced. I will not. Okay.
All right.
What's going on, Combat Sports Talk world?
What's up? What's
Another
up?
week.
And
Yeah.
Kelechi KC Onyebuchi.
Hey, folks, how's it going?
All right. Well, we may get an appearance by George G Money Stallworth later in the show, but I am excited to talk to you guys because this is the recap show for UFC 260. But a show isn't a show until we get a warm up with Jon Keys and his random fact of the day. Let's hear it.
Okay. Did you know that the very first speeding ticket was given out in the 1800s?
What was the speed limit?
You're acting as if those horses can really run. Okay, I mean, I think it was like 8 miles per hour.
Wow.
He was the dude's name. Hold on, as I get it here. Okay, so it was Walter Arnold of the English village of Paddockwood, Kentucky. Okay.
Oh, here we go, Kentucky.
Yeah, I know, right? And it was on January 28th, 1896. Arnold was spotted going 4 times the speeding limit in his 19th century Benz, but the speeding limit at the time was just 2 miles per hour. Okay, he was he was on a bicycle, people. He was on a bicycle.
Wait.
And yeah.
Wait. So
What?
just so that I can get this clear, this dude got a speeding ticket for going 8 miles an hour in 1896 on a bicycle.
In a 2 mile per hour zone. Yes.
Here
he was right. He was running hot. Yeah.
How did they know how fast he was going? Like, they didn't have radar guns.
Are you sure?
How will they know if he really loves you? Say a prayer.
I don't know. I guess they try to chase after him. Like, man, you're going too fast, and we're just going to sign. You're going 4 times faster than I can go. So therefore, we're going to charge you with that. And they charged him £4 7 pence for the charge, which equates to about $10-12 for going. Which, if you think about it,
just for inflation.
So he probably paid like $400. Okay, for that.
Now I want to know.
That math checks out.
$10.
Yeah, that math does not check out from 1896. Okay, hold on. £4 inflation. $4 inflation.
For those of us who
he got charged. He got charged. If it was $10, he got charged $10 in 1896. That's the same as getting a $313 ticket today.
Yo, I gotta apologize because you were not that far off. Like, you were not wrong.
No, man, my boy got charged hard, apparently. So, there's that, and we can also talk about, I got knowledge about one of the fights today, okay, because the technique that was used was interesting, and we often say the name, but
let's save it for the fight. We're gonna cover clearly somebody's not looking at the run sheet. Because
I'm looking dead at the run sheet. That's why I'm saying I'm
the
teasing
on the run sheet. Okay, all right.
I'm teasing the fight.
Save it.
To end that segment, I just want to say that Jack Johnson is my favorite speeder of all times.
Didn't he pay the dude? You know, he paid the because he was speeding. The cops pulled him over, and he was like, "You know how fast you're going?" He's like, "No, tell me." And he told him, he's like, "How much is that ticket?" He told him how much it was. He's like, "Here." He gave him double the amount. He's like, "I'm gonna be speeding the same way coming back," and burnt off on the cop.
Like, it's hard not to like that.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah, it's gangster. Yeah,
there you have it. Speeding tickets on bicycles, and Jack Johnson saying, "Listen, I'm going to pay double the speeding ticket because I'm coming back this way just as fast." All right. Well, let's get into it. This show is going to be mostly all about UFC 260. This was a card that was phenomenal from top to bottom. There was action all throughout, and I think that it had tremendous waves that impacted the UFC world, and those ramifications are rippling through the MMA world as well. So let's get into it. Our first segment of the night, the official decision. This is the official decision. This is where we look at the fight from Saturday night, and it was UFC 260 Miocic versus Ngannou 2. This was Saturday, March 27th, 2021, at the Apex Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. There were 5 fights on the card, but we have to cover number 6, which was the feature fight of the prelims. Alonzo Menifield coming straight out of Fortis here in Dallas-Fort Worth. Defeated Fabio Cherant via submission, the Von Flue choke, which we collectively called the OSP choke, which Kelechi calls the...
Oh, I was going to do it. The Q choke.
You're dang right.
Oh, my God.
That's right.
So... Let's talk about the Von Flue choke.
You did all that just to cue up that moment.
Yeah, I know.
I had to cue up that moment. That's right.
Yeah. Oh my God. He doesn't get them that many. So we'll let him slide with that. So the Von Flue choke is actually a counter choke to the guillotine. Okay, to the guillotine choke that's applied. Every time that you see a person, okay, so let's take OSP because he uses it more than the guy that actually uses it. The originator of it was a guy named Jason Von Flue. He was actually a fighter on the Ultimate Fighter season 2. Made it to the actual. He didn't make it to the finals, but he did make it to the show, and that's where he debuted that choke. In the fight. He's a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Last fight was in 2009. So like I said, he gave us he left his imprint on the world that is being used. But it's very interesting for a person that it innovated the maneuver. He only won twice by it.
Yeah.
Those darn guillotines.
Well, it's an interesting thing. And, in the fight, Alonzo Menifield comes pressing up, really tries to rush Fabio Cherant. And this is the thing, is they build Fabio as this submission specialist. All of his highlights were, him doing submissions and guillotines and things like that. So it wasn't a surprise to Alonzo Menifield when he came in there. Fabio Cherant wrapped his arm around Menifield's neck and tried to start going for that guillotine, and that's when the fight went to the ground. And it was amazing how strong. You know what? I've been watching too much In Living Color because I was like, it's amazing how strong his muscles were. They're strong. Men on Film hated it. So it was one of those things where he took Fabio Cherant to the ground. Fabio didn't let go of the guillotine choke, and so where he was on the mat next to the fence, Menifield trapped Fabio's arm where he couldn't get out of the arm of the guillotine. And in doing so, that is like the key part of setting up the Von Flue. And that's what he did. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, basically, with the Von Flue choke, you're getting choked out by your own arm from the looks of it. And it from what I'm seeing, it requires a lot of arm strength to actually really apply. I mean, it's beyond. I mean, yeah, the palm on palm technique works, but you got to really flex, because everybody that's actually applied this, they have one thing in common: they are very upper body bound. Okay,
Yeah.
so that should be an instant key. If you got the guns, you don't go guillotine on this guy.
That's the thing, right? Because if you look at Alonzo Menifield, he's a former football player. You got OSP, who's a former football player. And so you've got these guys that's got these huge, super strong muscles. They're super strong, super long, real long arms. And so therefore, that gives them that advantage. And so as Alonzo Menifield applied the Von Flue choke, he was able to rotate his body all the way down and apply every bit of pressure he could on Fabio Cherant, and he had to tap. It was either tap or go to sleep. And fortunately, he's not a Gracie fighter. So he lived to fight another day.
Not everybody can be a Gracie, dude.
Not everybody wants to die in the ring. In the next fight of the night, Jamie Malarkey, coming all the way from Australia, defeated Worthy via TKO. It should have been KO, knockout at 46 seconds of round number 1.
Yeah, it should have been a knockout. He did a Ric Flair flop, dude. I mean, it was, and I'm not trying to talk bad about or make fun of Worthy. I'm glad he's okay. But my man, he took the punch, took two, he looked like he was getting ready to set himself up, and he just flopped on the ground. I was just like, oh, wow. I missed the woo at some point. It was bad. It was bad,
Yeah, it was definitely one of those things where we've all seen Ric Flair sell a punch, and wait, is Kelechi on mute, or did he?
No, I just didn't. I was just trying to be cognizant of just like blowing out the speakers.
Okay, because I'm like, I see you do the woo, but I didn't hear the woo. Yeah. So there you go. But we've seen Ric Flair sell a punch, and so it was weird to actually see it happen in real life. Because this happened in 49 seconds of the first round, we got to call it buffer factor fail. It's a buffer factor fail right there. And so this fight did not last as long as it took to announce the fight.
Wow. Killer.
Yeah. So Worthy, you probably could have got knocked out 2.5, 3 times by the time Bruce Buffer finished announcing this fight.
I mean, but shout out for the names in that fight.
I know. Oh, yeah. Malarkey. I was like, what is, I think I gotta go back and look at what I wrote on Twitter, but I was like, what is this Malarkey? Isn't worthy to fight or something like that.
Just a fun-worthy matchup.
Yeah.
Stands for supreme and Swahili. Is it Swahili?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. I believe it's Swahili.
See, I think Kelechi's getting ready to check your facts, man.
Check me, dog. I mean, seriously, I know it's a
cultural awareness moments.
I believe it's Swahili. And if you're out there and you speak Swahili, please correct me. But I know is it does stand for supreme. I just can't remember which African dialect it was.
I think it's a chameleon. It comes and goes.
Chameleon. There it is.
Yeah.
Red,
gold, and green, people.
Red, gold, and green. Yeah. There it is. We got Men on Film and we got Culture Club in one show. There it is. Okay, man. Let's keep going. Miranda Maverick versus Jillian Robinson. Miranda Maverick defeated Jillian Robinson via unanimous decision. The thing is, Jillian Robinson was celebrating her 11th fight in the UFC, and this was at flyweight. So this was 11 fights at flyweight, which is a record. She came out looking strong against Miranda Maverick, but Miranda is corn-fed. She's built like just powerful woman. coming out of Jefferson City, Missouri.
Jeff
Yeah,
Coe.
she looked like she'd been slinging hay bales for real. Yeah, she wasn't having none of that. Okay, and you saw the call out. She called out Shevchenko's sister, Antonia.
Well,
So
that's a safe
this-
call out though, because Antonia is not as good as Valentina. We know this to be true.
See, this is where you guys don't watch enough kung fu movies. I've seen that scenario.
Here we go.
Okay.
I'm giving you full screen.
Okay.
Here we go.
Because what she's done, she's calling out the weaker sister and not calling Antonia weaker by any means, but Maverick's coming in there.
Yeah, you literally just called her the weaker sister. I mean, it's facts, right? Because one's a champion and one has gotten beat by Roxanne Modafferi. Now, which one is which?
I'm not even gonna say all that. I'm just saying that Maverick's going in there and she's gonna do a Kong Lee off of Bloodsport and try and get Valentina out there to try and fight her. Mark my words, okay? It's gonna happen.
It's Mark.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it was a good fight. Miranda Maverick. I look forward to seeing more from her as well. The next fight of the night was Sean O'Malley, the undefeated Sean O'Malley, versus Thomas Almeida.
Wait, what?
According to Sean O'Malley, he has never lost. He doesn't count his ankle break loss.
Yeah, he doesn't count the loss that he actually took.
His most recent fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he calls himself undefeated, self-proclaimed. Kalechi would say allegedly.
Allegedly.
Because I'm like, the last time I checked, he checked out. Okay, because Cheeto hit him with that Cheeto dust and just separated his conscious from his body. Last time I checked, but
it was not a pretty one. Now this is the fight that we did a flash fight pick, and so you know who chose Thomas Almeida?
Who?
Nobody.
Exactly.
Nobody had Thomas Almeida. We knew what was going to happen. And so here's the thing in the fight. When you see Sean O'Malley with the rest of these bantamweights, Sean O'Malley should probably be fighting at welterweight or at least lightweight. This guy is much bigger, much taller. This is very similar. I was talking on, when I did the live broadcast. This is similar to Conor McGregor fighting at 145. Like Conor was so much bigger than the 145ers that he was knocking those guys out. So I'm not saying that Sean O'Malley is not a talented fighter. I'm not saying he's athletic, not athletic. What I'm saying is that one of his greatest strengths is the ability to cut weight and fight these little guys.
Yeah, because he went in there and pow. And it was, and that's taking nothing away from Thomas Almeida, because Thomas Almeida comes from Shooter Box, which if you don't know Shooter Box are full of killers. Okay, this is where Vanderlei came from. This is where Chris Cyborg came from. These guys don't spar; they box. Okay, that's their sparring. They literally fight. With that said, apparently that black belt in Brazilian Muay Thai couldn't handle the sugar rush.
I wish George was here.
Right?
I wish George was here. We got a drink because we made a reference. You made a reference to black belt in Brazilian Muay Thai. Therefore, if you're playing the combat sports talk drinking game, that's a drink. You're gonna be drinking a lot tonight, though, for real.
Yeah, I got 2 drinks tonight. So yeah, we gonna do a lot of drinking. And please, Shooter Box Academy, do not come looking for me. Okay,
do not come looking for John in Denver, Colorado. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. At Factory X. Okay. Do not do that.
I'm skilled enough to know where all the exits are at this point. There's so many things that are hard to like about Sean O'Malley. I think he is very much going down the Conor route of fighting guys that are much smaller and trying to make an easy win to the top of the rankings. But realistically, Sean hasn't been fully tested. Like he's fought a bunch of lower level, not even gatekeeper types yet. Like I think that this is very much the Conor treatment of cherry picking the fights so that you have a guy that's easy to sell. And oh, by the way, all of his out of the octagon activities will excuse too. Like It's just hard to see him as like the serious fighter when he hasn't had a serious fight.
Okay, I'm gonna have to disagree with you slightly there,
Okay.
Casey. But for the simple fact that Thomas Almeida has been around for a while, he is 22-5 right now. Okay, that's not a bad record at all to have in that division. Okay, Sugar Sean is he's just that good. I mean, I'm not gonna say that they were handing him tomato cans, because I refuse to say that. Okay, I'm saying that they matched him up. He's knocked him down. It doesn't matter who, he's not the one that's picking out these fights. Don't blame him, okay? Because
I don't.
But
Yeah,
hey, if he goes in there and does what he's supposed to do, you can't. Hey, he does what he does. Now, however, there has been a call out though. Okay, there's been a serious call out,
but before you get to the call out, let's talk about what happened in the fight, because in this fight, Sean O'Malley went lights out in the first round because he was trying to get another highlight style knockout on Thomas Almeida to make up for the whole alleged loss to Chito Vera. Now, he got it. Oh my gosh. With in the first round, he landed. Oh my gosh. I don't even know what the combo was that he landed. I think he landed like a uppercut or a hook or something like that, and then did like a spinning kick, or I don't remember what it was. But all we know is that it dropped Thomas Almeida, and Sean O'Malley walked away because he's like, he's done.
It's over. Yeah.
That's what I hate about it. One of the things I hate about it, because it reminds me of like when you and I fought. Not that there was a walk-off one.
Now you got a drink. Reference to Ryan and Kalechi fighting. That's a drink. You're going to drink a lot tonight.
Yeah, I'm at the ration this.
But just that notion of that one hitter quitter and then walking away, right? So it's just that if you lean back enough, let Sean throw that, like Sean would be dusted by a really good counter puncher. Like his desire to throw that one big shot and walk away leaves him so open afterwards. Like, I can't wait for him to get a real striker against him. He's going to be done.
I don't think yes, he does load up for those one hitter quitters, but he does throw smooth combos. Okay, I think he's just that versatile that he loads them up, and he's smart enough to set up a knockout punch. And it's
or
not,
he just hasn't fought somebody who knows how to throw a counter.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I will concede that, because you're saying that he still needs to fight a worthy opponent. I'm kind of seeing what you're saying, and I'll be one to agree to that. Okay, give him a worthy opponent.
He's pretty with it. Don't get me wrong, but that's going to be the very thing that gets him in trouble.
Yeah, but well, like I said, especially what he did at the end of the fight, where
we're not there yet. We're not there yet. Don't get there yet. Like, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm
at
sorry.
The first
Ryan.
round, Mark Smith, the referee. Yeah. Okay, so O'Malley lights up Thomas Almeida. Almeida is sitting on the ground, looking up at the lights. Sean O'Malley is walking away, and Mark Smith is like, "Finish him." And it's like, oh, wait, what?
Yeah.
So Thomas Almeida stands back up. Like, I don't know where he got that second. That second. He must be a cat. He must be part cat, because he's got an extra life somewhere. And
cheat code, dude.
It's cheat code. So the fight continues. Sean O'Malley's not able to get him out in the first round. Not able to get him out in the second round. Comes to the final round of the fight. Looks like Sean O'Malley is not going to get his highlight reel knockout until, boom, rocked him. Oh, I'm sorry, Kalechi.
I mean, you're just going to step all over my line?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm excited, though, because
rocked him.
There it is. And so he got him. Like, he lit up Almeida. Almeida falls. His eyes roll up into the back of his head. And Look, Mark Smith didn't have to say nothing this time. Sean O'Malley runs over and brings down a punch from the sky down on top of the face of Thomas Almeida. Now go ahead, John Keys.
It was he finished him in the immortal style of Herb the Predator Dean. He walked over there, saw that he was still twitching a little bit, and he loaded up a H-bomb that made Dan Henderson cry a little and dropped it on him. And he was dead at that point.
Body.
Exactly. Okay.
There you go.
It was over.
Yeah. So in talking to Sean, and that was it. That was a highlight reel knockout. And in talking to Sean O'Malley after the fight, he said that he believed that the final punch on Thomas Almeida was unnecessary. I have to say that there's a lot of people who felt like that strike was unnecessary. And to quote the immortal words of Jorge Masvidal, it was super necessary.
It was super necessary. Hey, if the referee screams, "I need violence," you better go produce. Okay. And Mark Smith took a page from Herb D and said, he's still got a heartbeat over here. You need to go ahead and take care of this. And hey, it was what it was.
It bees that way sometimes.
It bees that way.
What it is.
So we got that one too. It
is what it is.
There you go. Michelle Obama. There it is. So now everybody's talking about Sean O'Malley, and there are the call outs. So who's calling out Sean O'Malley?
Oh, you want me to answer that? Oh, okay.
Yes. Do you know?
Yes. The Dominator himself, Dominic Cruz, is calling him out.
Yes, he is.
I don't know about that.
And
okay, so Dominic Cruz, it'd be a great fight, but Dominic Cruz is the guy that I love to hate. I love his fighting style. Oh my God, the dude it's awkward, it's confusing, it slips, and it makes people fail. It makes people look stupid. Okay. Sean O'Malley versus Dominic Cruz is going to be an epic fight. However, the lead up to it, with the trash talking, there is nobody that will irritate you more than Dominic Cruz. I mean, even more so than Henry Cejudo. I could deal with Henry Cejudo. I can't stand Dominic Cruz. I want to push Dominic Cruz into a locker. Seriously.
Yeah, if you could get your hands on him, dude is slippery.
I know, right? He's slippery. He's
so
like
slippery.
A greased chicken. I mean, it's like a greased chicken, man. You can't catch that.
Wait, a greased chicken? Ain't it supposed to be a greased pig?
No, it's a greased chicken.
Yeah.
Try to catch. Hey,
you ever tried to
Rocky
put grease on a chicken?
It's got feathers.
Exactly. That if you could catch a chicken, you could catch him. All right, that's what I'm saying. You're rode with a Jaguar. If you can ride with a Jaguar, you can drive anything.
So yeah, Kelechi, you're mentioning a Rocky training montage. We got one of those coming up later on in the show. Here's the thing: is that Dominic Cruz needs to watch who he's talking to. To be honest, like, you want a piece of Sean O'Malley, Dominic Cruz? Who does Sean O'Malley remind you of, folks?
T.J. Dillashaw.
Not T.J. Dillashaw. Somebody else, but you're close. It's the guy on the other side of the ring from T.J. Dillashaw.
Cody
Garbrandt. Sean O'Malley and Cody Garbrandt are cut from the same cloth. And we saw what happened when you have an elusive, just electric type of fighter like Cody Garbrandt fighting Dominic Cruz. Dominic Cruz's style didn't work because he's just too slow. So I think the Sean O'Malley is going to be the same type of fight for him, and he's going to get embarrassed. I would much rather see Cody Garbrandt and Sean O'Malley in the octagon. Now I know Cody Garbrandt is moving down. He moved down to 125, but move back up. Really? Come fight this fight.
Yeah, but Cody Garbrandt, he has fast hands. Like, oh my God, fast hands. Like, some of the punches, I mean, the punches that knocks him out are definitely the ones that even we who are observing the fight don't see. And it's just brutally nasty. So,
Yeah,
Ooh,
hopefully,
I'd love to see
Cody
that.
Garbrandt
Sean?
has taken some anger management classes so that when he gets
Nah.
punched in the face, that switch doesn't
Just
switch,
lose.
and
Yeah.
he just loses it, and all the strategy and stuff that he's worked on for 8 weeks in camp goes out of the window because that's what his problem is.
Well, it's sort of like he needs to learn from
Gaethje.
Quentin Rampage. He needs to learn from Rampage. That's what he needs to learn. Because Rampage on fight week would stop taking his meds, and by the time he gets to the fight, he ain't the same one. Okay, he's not Quentin anymore. He is just Rampage, and more often than not works for him. Sometimes it don't, but we got the highlight reel for the ages because of it. So.
All
The
right.
views expressed on mental health by John Keith do not necessarily reflect the views of Kelechi Yamaguchi or his subsidiary.
Or Ryan Smith or Combat Sports Talk.
How about just say the internet in general? Okay.
No, the internet's there with you. What is it? Rule 43. Like, there's something on the internet. It's going to be there. But
43.
Is it? Is that what it
Yeah.
is? It's 43, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I've learned something new.
Oh, well, you look it up.
We'll talk about it after the show.
The more you know. Let's go to the co-main event of the evening. Tyron Woodley versus Vicente Luca. Luca defeated Tyron Woodley via submission Darce choke at 3 minutes 56 seconds in round number 1. This is it, folks. That's all, folks. This can't. Tyron Woodley cannot proceed. He does not pass go. He does not collect
further movement.
$200.
Okay. So
actually, that's probably his purse.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, how do you? Okay, so this is an ironic beating, okay? Because not only did he get beat, but he got beat by a technique that he has employed many a time, okay, with the Darce choke, and I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's on that 60 list now. Okay,
he is just guaranteed on the 60 list.
Explain that 60 list for our listeners, please.
So,
okay.
Back in, I'll go ahead and do that. Back in December, Dana White indicated to the media that there was a list of about 60 UFC fighters that would be cut throughout the end of the year and into 2021 from the UFC rosters, ultimately to make room for up-and-coming fighters, ergo less expensive fighters. And so he basically said it's a numbers game, and some of these less active, less successful, more expensive fighters would have to go. And so Tyron Woodley has been a person who has been, at odds many times with Dana White on, receiving a lot of criticism from Dana White. And so, we have many times on this show speculated that Dana White is just itching to get rid of Tyron Woodley. The problem was Tyron Woodley was the welterweight champ, and he was knocking folks out left and right. So you can't get rid of a guy who's winning all the fights. But then it happened.
And beating your champs like Darren Till, well, not a champ, but a champ in the making like Darren Till. He just
beating your up-and-coming stars, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there because it's one where Woodley doesn't have any more bargaining power, right? Like, so there was the back and forth of him talking and Dana saying, we'll take the fight, as Dana always does, says that people backs out. And so it was a money issue. And then Woodley got active and he kept winning. And now that he has no more leverage because he doesn't have the wins, I don't see how Dana White keeps him on the roster. He's already not a big draw anymore. He's 38 years old. He's clearly slower than everyone else in his division. There's not a lot of upside to this guy.
What do you think, John?
I think that, do the humble thing. Say, you know what? I came in here wanting to be the champ. I became the champ. I think I'm good. And just bow out. And as soon as you're done with that press call, go ahead and hit that speed dial number 1 over there to Scott Coker and say, hey, bro, what's up? So I can do all your intros.
He's not going to have to do the first part because here's the reason why. After in the post-fight press conference, they asked Dana White, like, hey, Tyron Woodley came out looking good. And Tyron even said that. He came out looking good. He was putting some bombs on Vicente Luque and even rocked Vicente Luque in the first round. But in his rush to finish the fight, Vicente Luque was able to respond, drop a bomb on Tyron Woodley, and had him doing the chicken dance across the ring, trying to escape. And it was almost sad to see Tyron Woodley in this way, where you know that he's on shaky legs. You know, his legs are just super stiff and unstable. His hands are not protecting anymore. They're just out like a zombie. And Vicente Luque is just loading up, trying to throw bombs and finish the fight. Once he was able to get the fight to the ground, you know, it was interesting because, you know, Dana White and not Dana White, Daniel Cormier and Joe Rogan, they were like, Tyron Woodley is so out that he is not even attempting to stop the Darce choke. That it is that Vicente Luque put it on there and there was no defense. It was locked on and Tyron Woodley had to tap. And so they asked Dana White, they're like, well, Tyron Woodley came out looking great. What are your thoughts on the future of Tyron Woodley in the UFC? And Dana White said, it's very similar to what Kelechi said. He's what, 38, 39? He's lost 4 in a row? Yeah. And that's all he said and went on to the next question. So it turns out that Tyron Woodley's last fight was this Vicente Luque fight on his contract. So it is clear the UFC is not going to re-sign Tyron Woodley. He is going to be a free agent to go wherever he wants. And I agree that it's probably going to be Bellator.
Yeah.
It's got to be like a 2-fight deal or something real small, though, because he doesn't have another run in him. Like, I don't think he realizes he's 38 and how the game has changed.
Yeah, you just can't put your back up against the cage and look for the bomb. I mean, he was able to land it against Vicente Luque, but Vicente Luque is trying to get into – he's like ranked number 10 at welterweight. Right. Like, you're not going to get that big bomb against the number 5 or number 4 fighter. Definitely not Kamaru Usman.
Well, he was throwing some 1-2s out there. Let's put it. He was throwing some 1-2s. He was getting some strikes in until he wasn't. So, you know, I think a good 2 or 3 fight deal in Bellator would be a good way to you know, just to ride out in the sunset with some dignity.
All right. In the main, wait, I forgot to ask.
Yeah.
In Vicente Luque versus Tyron Woodley, do you know who actually picked Tyron Woodley to win that fight? Nobody. You weren't on the show. Wow. You don't have it on wax. It don't count. you Madame Tussauds rules. You dodged the crow. So there you go. But no one else picked Tyron Woodley. Now let's go to the main event of the evening. UFC Heavyweight Champion Stipe Miocic fell due to One Punch Man's.
All it took was one punch.
And Francis Ngannou destroyed
Stipe's defense. It was technically 3 punches.
I mean, if you want to get real technical, he ran into that fist, and that fist was going at what they say. He's strong. His punch power is equal like to
Ford truck.
A Ford Escort going as fast as it can. Yeah, so he literally jumped in traffic for that one. Okay, so you know.
Speaking to Stipe's like ride or die soldier spirit, though, I think like that the 1-2 backs him up, and as he stands up, his instinct is to rush in. I don't know if he was going for a takedown or what, but
he was trying to counter.
Really running scared. My guy Stipe stepped up into it. So like, I'm much props to Stipe. Like his default isn't to run; he's game.
Yeah, he was going in there to hit him back, and. You know, and God was like, no, and the Mutombo voice. I'm pretty sure the spirit of Mutombo was like, no, and bam, and his spirit went into the locker room. His body left in the ring. It was not a good thing. It was not a good thing.
You know, I think that they said that he folded like a folding chair, and you know, I described it like the Gabriel Gonzaga knockout of Cro Cop when Gabriel Gonzaga kicked Cro Cop in the head, and Cro Cop's body flopped down to the ground, ripping all of the ligaments. You know,
Yeah.
MCL, ACL, LCL, all of them were gone when he fell down. So
the ATM, the DVD,
Yeah.
the
pick 3 letters that broke
yeah,
too.
yeah, all that. Yeah, it was bad because I remember watching that, and it was just like pow, and I was like, oh, he's dead, and his leg was pointing to his his back.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I don't think that's normal. And you know, even who was it? Eve? Was it who was it? Was it Eve Levine? Was it was either Eve or it was Herb? And Herb saw it, and even he was like, "Oh my God, the violence!" And you know, he went. I think it was Herb Dean, and he jumped down there and like straightened it out. But I was like, I think the fact that he was unconscious actually may have saved him from the screaming pain.
Ooh, hold on.
It's his brother. It's his brother. Herb Dean's brother is Herb Dean. He's a little Basil.
You mean Basil?
Basil Dean.
No.
You know, Jasmine.
Like I said, Herb, the first time I was like, all right, he messed up. The second time? The third time?
It's Herb Dean.
It's Herb, dog. Okay, leave Herb alone. All right, goodness. Herb is good.
I was trying to keep it together, but I think Ryan caught me laughing. I was like, oh, we gotta pause this. What just happened?
What? I've always said Herb. Y'all just never caught on to it.
No, you were saying Herb Dean earlier in this show.
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry. I guess I got a little too relaxed with the violence.
Basil Dean. There we go.
One thing I want to point out on this fight, though, a lot of people rightly give credit to Ngannou for his power. What I think we also saw was the maturity of a fighter who's had 3 years to rethink what it means to be at the top of your ladder, what it means to get the right training camps and coaches. When we saw a young Ngannou in there fighting for a championship, I don't think he had a full appreciation for what the other fighters leading up to that moment had gone through to get there, right? So he'd been knocking people out. That was great. But his camp, like he was split between going through Cameroon and coming back to the U.S. back and forth constantly. He set up a more permanent camp here to get to the championship. He worked with the best of the best with both boxing and wrestling. So I personally saw those improvements. Like, this wasn't a guy just widely swinging for the fences. This was a guy using technique, using good footwork to get inside. This was a guy who's ready to stuff any takedown and had the confidence going in there that he didn't have to have this big haymaker moment. He was now a real fighter.
Okay, so that's also one thing I want to agree with you a bit. The moment that he stuffed Stipe's takedown, we're not saying it was a beautiful stuffing. It was a stuff regardless. The moment that he did that against a guy that is known, that is a wrestler, I knew that the fight had totally changed at that moment. And I knew that it was going to,
Stipe is not a wrestler. I disagree.
He has more wrestling than Ngannou did, so that makes him a better wrestler.
Wait. Okay, that's all right. That just because Stipe Miocic has more wrestling than Ngannou 3 years ago does not make Stipe Miocic a wrestler.
Well, I was saying then, and we're saying now, and you know, it's just like he evolved. All right, he evolved. And actually, he was a wrestler. He's a Division I wrestler, for Christ's sakes. Get out of here. You know, Division
Did you just do the research in real time? I respect
it. Yes, I did.
I respect that.
I went quick because I was like, oh, here we go.
Because Ryan will come for you real quick.
Yes, he will. Exactly.
Now I want to know.
Yes.
I want to know.
Yes. Oh, you also
keep going. Keep talking. I'm
okay. So, all right. He actually trained with Dan Bobish, and he was actually an NCAA Division I wrestler at Cleveland State. Okay.
Yeah, but the dude is a Golden Gloves boxing champion.
Yeah,
his whole career is boxing.
He can box and he can wrestle. All right.
So you know what he can't do is put on weight.
Take that out. Well,
No,
and
because
that was
like
also
you look at him against Cormier, he looked a lot lighter that second time. Like he done work. He looked like a marathon runner, but I think that worked against Cormier because that was going to be a cardio battle, right?
yes.
Against Ngannou, you need size. Like
Well,
that is a size for size matchup, and I think he failed himself in not showing up with at least 20 more pounds.
I think I can understand why he did it. Okay, because I think the game plan for him, and I'm just based off of what I saw, the game plan was to try and somehow make it to like the deeper rounds and see if Ngannou could handle it. I think that's what he was going for. However, apparently he didn't watch enough tapes to know that you just don't get hit by this man, or if you're going to get hit by this man, please block something. Okay, because if he hits you, every hit that he throws is a potential to knock you out right there. And as those blows become numerous, it becomes exponential. That it doesn't become a if he knocks you out. It definitely becomes a when you're on the ground counting the lights in the ceiling.
Yeah.
So
gives questions to what's next for him.
You know, and
Stipe
Miocic, yeah.
He lets it go. He retires. He's 30. He's like 38 years old. Okay, he's 38 years old. He may fight if he has more fights on his contract. He'll fight the rest of his contract out and be done with it. You know, I don't think.
Who would you even match him up with? Like the top 5 right now are all killers who are all fighting with just a level of strength that I don't know that Stipe is ready for. And the skill set at that level right now is high.
You know what?
I was given a gift in Cormier. Sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
No, I think just that he was given a gift in Cormier, but if you look at who else he would have to stack up against, I don't know that he comes out as like the favorite in any of the top 5 fights that he could be matched up with. Like, who would you put him as a favorite against right now?
Okay, we did. That's the thing about Miocic. This was the whole story about Miocic. Nobody ever put him as the favorite for many of his fights, and he loves that. That was his fuel. That was his motivation. Was the fact that everybody put him as as a guy that was the underdog. And looking at the top 5, I could see him taking on. Let's see here. He could take on Blades. He could take Cyril Gane. No, he can't take Cyril Gane. Volkov. Alexander Volkov. Yeah,
Alexander Volkov would be a good fight for him. Yeah.
Yes. Anybody in the top 10. I mean, granted, there's a couple of questionables like Cyril Gane and.
I was like, we just dropped out of the top 5 for a champ that was a champ last week.
Okay, so he's still ranked number 1.
No. Here's the thing: we are looking at winnable fights for him, right? Like things that we think that he would actually do well. But I mean, his next fight, I don't think he's ever fought Derek Lewis. I mean, not that Derek Lewis is going to fight him, but that's a fight for him. Curtis Blades is a fight for him. You've got fights for him. I just don't think that he would do super well against some of these guys. Now, I want to pull that thread a little bit more on that wrestling thing for Stipe Miocic.
Okay, keep going. There we go.
What we do is read headlines, but we don't read stories.
Okay.
Stipe Miocic was a collegiate wrestler. Yes, he was.
He hit you with the Sherlock Holmes line of,
I know, right?
You do not observe.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
But what happened? What had happened was Stipe Miocic was an all right wrestler because lots of people are Division I athletes, but they ain't superstars. And this is kind of what it was that Stipe Miocic was a Division I athlete at Cleveland State University, not necessarily known for its not necessarily known, period.
Okay.
And so therefore he was on the wrestling team. He actually had some success, but he quit wrestling before he actually blossomed into what could have been a great wrestler. And as a result, he's not known for his wrestling. He's a Golden Gloves champion. We know him for his boxing, and the kind of the rest is history. But to say that he is a wrestler just because he wrestled in high school doesn't mean that he is a wrestler in the MMA context.
But he didn't wrestle in high school.
He did.
He wrestled
in high school, and he wrestled in college.
So you're not going to put any respect on his name because he was a
not for wrestling. No,
for wrestling. You know, he wrestled.
Zero respect on his name.
So we'll assume what? Let's see here. 4 years of high school, 4 years for college. So about 7-8 years.
He did not. He quit wrestling. He wrestled like 1.5 years in college.
Okay, so we're looking at
season,
4,
and
5,
then he stopped.
Okay, but he still wrestled. Okay, that's what I'm coming to.
So
I'm not saying that he has Brock Lesnar's record of 106-5. Okay, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that he was a player on the collegiate level. That's what I'm saying. Okay, I'm not saying he was the greatest.
Kelechi was a football player on the collegiate level.
Okay,
We're not sitting here. We're not sitting here.
I'm not saying the man deserves a ring in the Super Bowl. I'm just saying he was there on that stage. I'm not saying that he was great. I'm not saying he was phenomenal, but he has the training. Okay.
I don't think he has the lifestyle. You know, I think one of the most important things that Jon Jones ever said was that if you're a wrestler, you can be taught to strike, but if you're a striker, you cannot be taught to wrestle because it's a lifestyle. And I don't think that you can say that the hardening and the sharpening that wrestlers get because they have their entire career in wrestling versus someone like Stipe Miocic, who was an all-around athlete, who did baseball, who did wrestling, who did boxing, who did all kinds of things, that he is. You can't say that he's a wrestler. It's just one of the things he did.
So, question: do you think he had more wrestling than Francis Ngannou?
Yes.
All right.
Well,
so
at least the first one. At least in the first fight. The second one, Ngannou said that he trained just pure wrestling for 6 months just to get ready for Stipe Miocic. And I think that that's kind of where, Stipe Miocic kind of went wrong. Like, you got to think that the reason why he beat Francis Ngannou was the fact that he gassed Francis Ngannou out and then wrestled him and controlled him for rounds 4 and 5, maybe even 3, 4, and 5. That was that was the winning thing.
And I think he was trying that again. I guess in his mind, he didn't think that he thought that maybe Francis was just going to rely on his striking only and not think that, he'll work on his wrestling, which is why everybody lost their mind when they saw Ngannou's stuff a takedown, including myself. Yeah. So I was like, oh, this is not good. Okay. And not saying in a bad way. I'm like, oh, well, Stipe, I think you're in trouble now. And he proved it because what is more demoralizing to get stuffed in a takedown by a guy who is not known to wrestle at all? That's
more demoralizing is to throw your hardest shot and for them to keep walking through it. I can say from experience. Is at that point you look at the ref like, help me.
Like, did that just happen, man? Okay, good.
Like, stuff my takedown all day, but just don't walk through my punch like it's nothing.
Yeah. But it's one of those things too where I was talking on the show and it was on the I was talking on the live broadcast for UFC 260, and what I was saying is that Stipe Miocic had to have known that Francis Ngannou was going to bring some wrestling to this fight. That was the biggest hole in his game, and we talked about it at length 3 years ago. So I felt like Stipe Miocic should have changed the game and added a new wrinkle to his game. We know that he's got the boxing. Clearly, he's a wrestler. So, that worked too. what he is not known for is kicking. And so I thought he should have worked on the casket, because when you do that, then at least then you can nullify the striking that that Francis Ngannou was going to have, because we know that if we take out that front leg, then you don't have the power, you don't have the mobility, and that is what he does.
That's what
The
I
casket?
do.
That's what I said. The calf kick. You work on the calf kick, and you nullify that leg, and that way now Francis Ngannou is slower, he's less accurate, less mobile, and now you can start taking him down. So I really think
the problem with the calf kick is that you're still technically in range, typically, with that calf kick, right? And if you saw, Stipe was having a little bit of trouble with the range, though, because Francis has just done work in boxing in his positioning. So there are a couple of times where it would have appeared that Stipe had moved out of range, but he was still very much getting tagged.
Yeah. Francis, he's got like an 82-inch reach?
No, it's 84. So he and Jon
84
Jones
inch.
have the same reach.
Dude, his arms, his hands literally touch the back of his calves standing up straight. That's how long this guy. I mean, I'm not gonna call him a knuckle dragger, but 84 inches, guys. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to get anywhere
7 feet.
near it. Like hitting that calf kick, like, is it worth it if I get tagged?
Well, but that's the thing.
You literally have to slide in and hit it and then run back. Okay,
well, that's the thing. You can because Francis Ngannou is an orthodox striker. That means his left leg is forward. That means that you can kick that left leg and roll out of the way, away from his power shot. So there is something that you could do. Stipe Miocic also has demonstrated that he could take some of Francis Ngannou's shots, at least from 3 years ago. So, it's one of those things where that should have been the strategy. Test my chin, rolling out and trying to kick that leg so that you can lessen the impact of that power strike. Because if it lands and it works, he loses mobility, he loses speed, and that power punch isn't coming as hard or fast as it did that finished the fight. So I think that that's what you do for rounds 1 and 2. The bull rush is going to come from Francis Ngannou. We know he's going to rush in like that, which means that all of that first and second round, the lactic acid starts to set in. He starts to gas, and next thing you know, you're able to take him down a little bit easier. You're able to control him rounds 3, 4, and 5, and you win 3-2. That's what I was predicting was going to happen.
You're missing the one crucial piece of that, because you're right on the calf kicks, and I think that would be super effective. But you've got to employ the Ryan Smith strategy and show up as a southpaw out of nowhere. That is the game changer.
But southpaws traditionally have this weakness of taking hits, and that's the one thing you don't want to do. I mean, because
southpaws
taking a hit
have
from
a statistical advantage.
Really, I thought southpaws that takes more hits than orthodox. Or I could be backwards.
Nah, because orthodox people typically don't train with southpaws, so it's an unaccustomed fight style for them. Whereas all southpaws have to train with orthodox fighters. It's just how that works.
I have it backwards. I do apologize.
So
that's correct.
I was disappointed because that's what I'd hoped to see. Francis Ngannou was throwing leg kicks. Francis Ngannou really put on a show, did a little bit of everything in this fight. Like, you could see the evolution of Francis Ngannou. I am so surprised that he let's go through it. I was the doubter. I'm the one who doubted Francis Ngannou. I picked Stipe Miocic to win.
I think you gotta change your rule number 1.
Yeah.
Rule number 2 should now be never bet against Africa.
Oh.
All of Africa.
So I didn't put this on the run sheet, but I intended to talk about this because this is something that really bothers me. And that is this notion that Africa has 3 champs. It's like Africa has 55 countries. Nigeria should be like, Nigeria has 2 champs, except one lives in Australia or New Zealand and the other one lives in the United States. So do you really have 2 champs? If we're looking at continents, there was a time when North America had 5 champs. There was a time when South America, even though it was Brazil, had like 3 champs. Why is it that we're sitting here going, Africa has 3 champs, when it's like you're talking about this continent as though it is a country, and it is not.
We're talking about it because of the overall representation of Africa within the UFC specifically, in combat sports in general. And it's not that we're talking about it because the media did. We're talking about it because of the kinship and friendship of Cameroonians and Nigerians. And then specifically, you look at the relationship of who Francis had as a mentor coming into the UFC and how close him and Kamaru became when Ngannou first started. So it's less about like creating this false narrative of a united Africa, and it's about champs appreciating what it's been like to be the outsider in the sport. This is your cultural awareness moments.
Well, hold on there with the cultural awareness, because it's not the first Cameroonian to do it, though, because a lot of people forget about Sokaju. Okay,
Ooh.
Remy Sokaju was a mixed martial artist that was fighting out of Cameroon long before, and even fought in the UFC. He had more, however, he did have more success outside of the UFC at light heavyweight than he did in the UFC with light heavyweight. Because when he was there, this was during the reign of the Iceman. This was during the whole Iceman, Tito Ortiz movement. And so, but no, there was a guy there. Hey, Sokaju was there.
If we were going to talk about Africans in the UFC, then we can't miss.
Hold on.
Don't do it. No, don't do it. Oh God.
Hold on.
We cannot miss the single greatest African to ever grace the octagon.
Hold up. Who is it?
Check Congo.
No.
The greatest to ever do it.
No.
Hold
We're just going to take you off the screen, Kalechi. This is like around the horn. We're muting you. You're off the screen.
Well, get ready, because I'm going to make it better, because at least Sokaju done something that Jon Jones couldn't do.
Beat Matt Hamill?
What that was? Yes, he did. Beat Matt Hamill in 37 seconds. Okay.
But realistically, I will go back and say that there is that recognition that Africa is huge. It's continent-wise, like there isn't a ton of unity, but it really does come back to the type of language that gets used and thrown around when we look at an Izzy versus a Conor McGregor, the kind of language that gets used when we're talking about eventually building a UFC Africa versus when there's conversations about UFC in Dagestan, right? Like there's just a different conversation, and there's a camaraderie and brotherhood that's happened between those 3 champions that transcends just arbitrary economic lines that we call countries, and it really comes down to a shared experience within the UFC and being able to look out for each other.
Amen.
Okay.
Now
all right.
That was your cultural awareness moment. The more you know.
There we go.
Oh no! Who did that?
I think we've all done the more you know today.
Wait a minute! No, I heard some drums in the background. Who hit the drums?
No, Kalechi picked up his water bottle that he's
damn.
without a straw.
Don't play me.
I was like, wait a minute, dog. That's too much.
Kalechi playing African drums.
I do have some talking drums over here.
So
don't do
so here we go. Now this comes back to what happens after the fight. So it's a historic moment. Francis Ngannou is crowned the heavyweight champion and new heavyweight champion of the world. We go to the post-fight press conference, and the questions start up, because there was all this talk that if Francis Ngannou won, then the fight that was going to happen next was Ngannou Jones for the title. So they asked Dana White. They said, Dana White, so does that mean that the next fight for Francis Ngannou is not Stipe Miocic 3, but actually Jon Jones? And Dana White himself said, if I'm Jon Jones and I'm watching this fight, I'll start moving to 185.
Why? That's what I hate about his style of management is he can't sell a fight. He really can't. Why would Jon Jones be thinking about 185 when this has been a man who's shied away from no fight in his life?
It's a throwaway statement. It's not. You're not supposed to take that seriously.
That's a gaslighting moment right there. And he knew what he was doing. If you watched that press conference when he started talking about, you saw the look in his eyes. You saw the smile come out. He's like, I know what I'm going to do. Because as I wish George was here to say it and not me, but a hit dog will holler. Okay. Yep. And Dana hit Jon Jones with the whipping stick so hard. I mean, he pretty much said, hey, Jon Jones, if you want the fight, you know who to call. We'll make it tonight. But we know when they say they want to fight, they don't really want to fight. If there is nothing that'll get if there's anything that gets Jon Jones gassed up more than anything, it's to doubt his ability. It doesn't matter what the ability is. It's you doubt his ability, he's going to come out.
Hear me out. Mm-hmm. Imagine if you had a promotion where instead of Dana White being your spokesperson, you had somebody who is skilled at marketing and knows how to sell fights, and a question gets thrown out. So what does this mean for your former champ who's moving up and has been putting on weight and is ready to take on any comers? Do you think that this would be a matchup that you're excited for with Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou? And you had that imaginary promoter run through Jon Jones' resume, the type of killer that he is in the octagon, and then just talk about the evolution that Francis Ngannou has, and like the fact that he's got to now get tested for Terrigen crystals because this dude has just leveled up as an inhuman. Like,
you know,
the possibilities to promote were there. The possibilities to promote were there, but Dana White does what Dana White does, and that is denigrate his fighters at every given chance.
Okay,
just imagine a real promoter.
So, okay, that works. Okay, so here's the counterpoint, because this is where I say I applaud what Dana did. All right, think about it this way. See, your scenario there, he did do that when he was talking about George St. Pierre versus Michael Bisping. He did all that, okay? And he talked about how he was going up in weight and he's going to challenge. And he talked about how Michael Bisping was the most game fighter ever, because when nobody wanted to fight at the first Ultimate Fighting Championship, he called up Michael Bisping, and Michael Bisping sat there and said, "Oi, I'll do it." Okay, he didn't even care who he was fighting. He said, "I will do it," right there. And Dana White gassed that fight up tremendously. Now, we look at Jon Jones. We know Jon Jones' history. We know what he does. But he also knows that Jon Jones thinks he's going in there. I can't use that term because this is a family show. He coming in there thinking he's the king. Okay. What Dana White did was he smacked that crown a little bit lopsided and said, you ain't the big dog in the yard yet. Okay. You got to fight this guy over here. I don't think you're really ready to do that. In other words, he's charging up his great light heavyweight fighter to fight the King of Monsters. This is literally Godzilla and King Kong, which is coming out Wednesday, by the way. Watch it.
He doesn't need to charge up Jon Jones to get going. Jones wants this fight. Jones also deserves to get paid and isn't getting paid. I don't think we have the same conversation with a Conor McGregor and the trilogy fight with Conor McGregor. You think that Jones is going to make more or less money than Poirier?
I think he's going to make the money is there. Okay, first of all, I sincerely know the money is there. Okay, Dana is not stupid. He knows what Jon Jones is bringing to the table. Jon Jones is trying to garner sympathy. Okay, we know, and as far as Conor McGregor would fight tigers if Dana told him and gave him a monetary amount. Okay, because he'll come in there gassed up to fight a tiger. All right. That's the whole point. He wants Jon Jones to come off that to forget that he's a king and start coming out there as a knight and start fighting. That's what he wants. I get
He's
it.
put in too many years for that. We're not talking about an up and coming fighter who has to pay dues.
Well, see, that's the whole point.
But
he's
in many ways,
he's trying to phone it in.
In many ways, we are talking about an up and coming fighter who needs to pay dues because he's coming into the heavyweight division. And so it's one of the I know the history. I know the history that the UFC doesn't always hold fighters to that and they just let them skip the line and all that kind of stuff. But Dana White, I would say, is indeed trying to get under Jon Jones's skin because at the end of the day, what doesn't he want? He wants Francis Ngannou to stay the champion.
Mm-hmm. Because he knows that
he doesn't want Jon Jones to come up there and blow up his champion. He doesn't.
Because guess what Jon Jones does when he comes to different divisions? He shuts them down and he makes everybody else run.
We can't really say that because he's only been in one division.
And you saw what he did there. That division literally dried up. He leaves, and all of a sudden, we have ourselves an influx of light heavyweight fighters. He goes to the heavyweight division, the newly re-energized, full of monsters, King of Monsters style fighters in the heavyweight division. He's going to go up there, and God forbid if he had started at 15, okay, and what if he whips them all the way up to number 1 and beats Ngannou? Guess what? You just killed the division. Jon Jones, for as much as I question his security in himself because of what he's done in the past, he's a phenomenal athlete.
So we have to extricate the two conversations.
Hold on. Extricate? Is that are we revising the word of the show? Are we doing that?
It is. That's a $2 word right there.
That is a $2 word. Extricate. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
It's like when you have one Kate and then you start dating another one. You got an extra Kate.
And literally, that actually can be used as a
no, but like the conversation is like there's one conversation that happens on is it the right move for rankings, and then there's a separate conversation that you have to have on money. I think that there's a lot of valid points that can be made on like this blows up the division and like it reiterates that notion that the rankings are useless. But on the very real note, we have to look at the fact that you've got a guy who has like been a big moneymaker for you. And for all those who want to talk about like antics outside of the UFC, like Conor becomes the barometer. And if it's okay to have sexual assault claims against you, if it's okay for you to go to jail in multiple continents, if it's okay for you to have mob boss run-ins, then I don't know where our bar becomes, but you can't separate his ability to go get that money and why Dana makes it easier for Conor to go get that money. If we're talking just pure gate, like this Ngannou fight will be the biggest heavyweight fight that the UFC has seen.
But that's the thing. You got to go back to Dana White doesn't want that fight right now. He doesn't. Yeah. Let's think about it though. Let's think about this for just a moment. And this is my it's not that he doesn't want Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou to fight. He just doesn't want that fight right now. Because right now it's let's call it a $10 million fight.
Yeah. In
6 months, in a year, it's a $30 million fight. Why? Because you only can put 15,000 people in an arena right now.
That's right.
You've got a massive fight between Jon Jones, the up-and-coming king of the light heavyweight division and the current reigning champion of the heavyweight division colliding. That is a Dallas Cowboys Stadium fight. That is a Las Vegas Raiders fight. That is not an arena fight. That's a stadium fight. And so you don't want that fight right now because, yeah, it could be great and it could be amazing and it could make money, but it's not going to make the type of money that Jon Jones wants for a fight that's going to happen in an arena.
That's right.
The
money
I'm
that's
here for
involved
it.
in this. Oh, go ahead, Casey. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just thinking through, the scenario makes sense to me. It's just, it's taking a very big risk because you've got the unknown, the unknown factor of Jon Jones at heavyweight is part of the allure of this fight, right? So let's say he has a close fight with, who's he scheduled with now? It's not Blades, right?
Who? No, Jon Jones doesn't have a fight. He doesn't have a fight.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Jones doesn't have a fight with him.
Signed. All right. Well, let's say you give him a top 5 guy.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Jon Jones thinks he is entitled to going after Ngannou. And I think that's part of the reason why, Dana White is goading him, because he's like, oh, you want this? Then you're going to have to prove it. He's going to have, because it works one of two ways. Either Jon Jones fights somebody at heavyweight, or Jon Jones gasses this whole. He doesn't need a marketing machine when you have Jon Jones twittering for a day and a half about this whole situation. Literally, he tweeted. He started a Twitter storm on the moment that the fight was over, and continued it all the way. He's probably let out 3 or 4 right now, somewhere. Because he is mad. He's not just he is. I think he's went through 5 of the 7 emotions that one goes through. Okay, in a stressful situation, and I'm just waiting to see what happens the next time that Ngannou fights, which is going to be against Derek Lewis. I'm pretty sure that Jones is going to keep fighting, but Ngannou isn't the type to talk back on Twitter. So this is going to be a one-sided affair. As far as I'm concerned.
French is his first language, and we've seen that French fighters don't talk trash because English is nuanced.
Yeah, that's right. So there you have it. I think that we've done a really good job of kind of illustrating the challenge that the UFC has had with Francis Ngannou and Jon Jones and all of the anger and frustration and emotion that's following this potential fight. Whenever it happens, because I think it will happen, it is going to be the biggest fight in the UFC history. And I can't wait for it. But I do think that we're probably a year out. I think we'll see that fight sometime after the new year, because I think that we'll probably book Francis Ngannou versus Derek Lewis 2. That'll happen sometime in July. And so we're looking at potentially November, December, before Ngannou gets his next shot or has his next fight. Maybe you'll see Jon Jones then, or maybe you'll see it in 2022. Here's the thing. It has to be in a stadium. And the UFC is only going back to arenas with 15,000 people in Houston for UFC 261. And that's why we're going to go ahead and close the book on this one and put this card on the shelf, because the number one thing I want to talk about is coming up in Finding the Angles. The Angles, and originally we were going to talk about Jon Jones as the headliner, but we did that as part of the wrap up to UFC 260. So the headliner this week is the disclaimer on the ticket at UFC 261 has fine print that warns of possible death or permanent disability from COVID-19 if you show up in Houston at this fight.
I am not impressed. Okay, I'm gonna tell you the reason why. Because if anybody looks in their medicine cabinet and pulls out some medication, I guarantee there's a commercial that has 30 seconds of people running in the park in their loafers and got their ascots on and everything like that, while they're talking about how death, dismemberment, your bowels will explode, chest burster may appear, things of that way. Oh, and it may lead to death. Okay, so miss me that ticket. I mean, that's hilarious. Don't get me wrong. I approve of the violence, but it does not impress me.
So there you have it, though. I just think it's interesting. The screenshot that was on Twitter says may lead to exposure to COVID-19 and that the contraction of COVID-19 may result in severe and permanent damage to the health of the holder and others, included but not limited to death, fever, weight loss, irreversible pulmonary, respiratory, and or neurological system damage, loss of taste or smell, mental or emotional distress, temporary or permanent disability, loss of income, loss of employment, loss of financial or other opportunities, medical expenses, and it goes on and on and on.
That's what I'm
Do you want to see a fight live that bad?
Man,
that's what I'm thinking.
I got.
Like, if you gave me the Francis fight with those disclaimers, I might consider it.
Man, that's what I got on my Mylanta bottle in the cabinet. Man, come on.
Oh, Mylanta?
Oh, wow.
No, it's not Mylanta. You know,
I just thought it was pretty interesting because it's like, you know, of course your legal department's going to have to do that because it's still a risk, you know, and in so much as the UFC has done at least a decent job of creating bubbles around their fights in empty arenas, there is just no way that you're going to be able to protect 15,000 people and your fighters and all of these other people. Now, I know what Dana White has said. Folks have doubted me before, and I made it happen. Let's see. I'm going to hide and watch.
He will make it happen. He knows his base well. And his base is the type of
they sold out in minutes.
Crowd that would be okay with this. And, hey, the supply and demand, they're grown adults who can figure out what's best for their own health. I don't see any way around it, to be honest. Like, someone's going to have to do it, and Dana White has proven that he's a pioneer when it comes to thinking through these creating events. So it was bound to happen.
And plus, it's already sold out. It's sold out in like 6 minutes. 15,000 tickets, I believe. So, yeah, I mean, congratulations. Nice knowing y'all. You know, right. I'm a firm believer of natural selection, and we're about to see the biggest example of it. So, yeah.
Personally, for me, I don't enjoy watching the fights live anyway. I prefer watching it at a bar or in the comfort of my own home. I've actually got really comfortable doing these shows here at home, watching the fights. So, yeah, I mean, I know that there's the electric atmosphere. It's the ability to say I was there when, and, you know, Kelechi, thank you so much for that time where we went and watched Joanna Jędrzejczyk just dispatch Carla Esparza. You know, Rafael dos Anjos dispatched Anthony Pettis. You know, it's like we saw that live, and that'll always be a memory. And I think one of my profile pictures is still the UFC shirt that I bought at the event. You know, and us up in the suite. So, you know, there is that memory making effect. But at the end of the day, I like hearing the conversation of the commentators. Yeah. You don't get to hear that when you're there at the fight. You get to hear just people yelling and getting drunk and having fights. So I'm not there for that. That
ticket would be a sweet souvenir, though. Let's put it out there. That ticket would be a sweet souvenir. I survived that. That would be a great shirt. I went to the UFC event and survived, and all I got was this lousy shirt. You know,
yeah. People will get that merch, and then 2 weeks later be in the hospital.
So we're gonna see. We're gonna keep our eye on that. You know, I think that there are so many people who are, you know, who want to see Dana White fall on his face, and the fact is that what makes him great is the fact that he finds a way to make it happen. and they
Life
you
will
can't.
find a way.
Yeah, and so we'll see. Aljamain Sterling welcomes the Peter Yan rematch, but he questions the circumstances, saying that Peter Yan should have been suspended. And you know, the thing that I have about this is that, Aljamain, you became a champion due to a disqualification. Peter Yan lost the fight for kicking you, for kneeing you while you were down. He lost his belt. That's the consequence for breaking the rules. He lost his belt and lost that fight. Now you're like, oh, he should be suspended. He shouldn't get this rematch. I should be able to fight Henry Cejudo instead. It's like, bruh, let's face it. You weren't winning the fight the first time. You might not win the fight the second time.
Yeah, he's not going to win the second fight, but I also don't believe that it is wrong for him to state what should be considered facts. Like, if a fighter has that blatant of a rule violation, if that fighter is not the champ, the dude's getting suspended. I don't know how you have such a blatant disregard to the rule and then say, oh, well, this fight he was DQ'd from is enough.
Okay, then let's let the record show. Can you name another fighter? Who threw an illegal knee, was disqualified? Give you a hint. He did it in his UFC debut.
Oh,
Greg Hardy.
Greg Hardy.
But
was Greg Hardy suspended? No. Because here's the thing. It was you can say that the knee was illegal. You can say that the knee was intentional. What you can't say is that the knee was malicious. It wasn't something where he was doing it with bad intentions. He wasn't trying to.
I do have a counterpoint.
Aljamain Sterling, maliciously.
Okay, so let's talk about that, because there was a circumstance where a legal knee was thrown to a downed opponent, pretty much in that fashion, and it can be construed as malicious. Okay, Michael Bisping, Glover Teixeira. Okay, Teixeira was clearly grounded. Michael not only kneed him in the face, he clenched and kneed him in the face. And all the way up to that point, there was bad blood going back and forth. There was serious bad blood. So we can argue maliciousness. We can argue. I mean, it was definitely intentional. He had no qualms about it. He was like, he threw a, oh wow, oops, I'm sorry type situation. But it was intentional and it was malicious. He was not suspended. He won that fight, I think. Let me see. Let me check.
Yeah. I'm actually looking for that. But either way, so I don't think that's something that should go on. We just don't have history of that. The consequence of throwing the illegal knee was a disqualification and loss of title. The natural thing is the resolution of that fight. So it should be a rematch between Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling. You got to give him the fight back. And if you do, I'm just questioning whether or not you're going to be able to do what you did even in the first couple of rounds. Peter Yan was coming on strong.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to close up with a few other stories. You find it, John?
Give me 30 seconds.
Okay, I'm going to go on. We can circle back if you find it. Endeavor is looking to buy out their owners and gain total control of the UFC. So Endeavor, the parent company of the UFC, is making power moves to try to take full control over the UFC. Why? Because Endeavor is struggling financially, and the UFC is a cash cow that continues to rake in money. And as the pandemic ends, they are poised to be able to capture all of that money that's going to be coming back as people fill up the arenas, as the UFC gets back on their train, going all over the country and all over the world, hosting fights. The problem is the Viacom MMA effect. These folks at Endeavor are not fight fans. They are not fighters. It's bottom line They're looking at numbers, and what that means is that the quality of the product that we are going to get, if Endeavor takes over full control of the UFC, I say the product is going to get worse.
I agree.
Because they're not fight
gotta,
fans.
You know, because UFC was originally created to answer a question. Well, it was two reasons it was created: to answer the question and to promote Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or Gracie Jiu-Jitsu specifically, across the world. So if we get guys that are looking at the bottom line and not looking and not even with Dana White, he still cares more about the fighters and the fight than I believe Endeavor would. Okay, and that says a lot. So if Endeavor does go for this if they do get this buyout, it may not be it may be a swan song. Hate to say.
It's hard to say that buyout would happen, just given that I think the other investors are smart enough that this is a hold position on the UFC, given the amount of upside there is, and the restructuring that's happening within the organization as far as the fighters that you've got. There's a lot of potential that any decent investor would hold on rather than sell their position.
Yeah. It's a lot of money they're throwing at them. It's a lot of money they're throwing.
It's a small number with a lot of zeros behind it. A lot of zeros. And I did find the fight. I do apologize. I said it was Glover Teixeira. It was Jorge Rivera that he threw the legal knee. He got a point deducted for it, and he still ended up winning with by TKO.
By TKO.
Yeah, because he landed an illegal knee. Anyway.
That was awesome.
So Kelechi mentioned a Rocky montage early in the the show. And so I don't know if you've seen it yet, but Ben Askren is continuing trolling Jake Paul. Like Jake Paul did not realize that when he was booking this fight with Ben Askren, that he was actually going to get someone who is as social media savvy as Ben Askren actually is. And so Ben Askren filmed a Rocky IV style training montage in the snow to the music of Hearts on Fire. And, I mean, it's almost it's not. I wouldn't say it's a frame by frame, screen by screen shot remake of it, but it has all of the elements of the Hearts on Fire winter Siberian training montage from Rocky IV. and I have to say, hats off to you, Ben Askren. That is some awesome stuff right there.
It's needed. Honestly, Jake's trolling has not gone well for him. It doesn't seem to be connecting. And Ben is the perfect social media foe for him because, man, Jake is getting stretched in his ability to keep the trash talk up.
Yeah.
There's only one other person that could trash talk better, and that would be Dominic Cruz. As much as I hate him, his trash talk is a level, definitely 2 or 3 levels up from Jake Paul. He wouldn't survive. He wouldn't survive. So,
last thing, Bellator released their rankings. So I remember we did on the show recently that the Bellator was going to have their own rankings list. They now have their rankings. Patricia Pitbull and Chris Cyborg are tops of the pound for pound list at Bellator. What does it mean? Not a whole lot of anything because it's a Bellator list. So when you're saying pound for pound, you're pound for pound in Bellator. Like, that's the same thing about the UFC list, is that it's UFC pound for pound. The only thing is that the UFC carries with it the credibility of saying they have the best fighters in the world. So people believe the UFC when they hear that. When Bellator puts their pound for pound list up, people say, but it doesn't have UFC fighters on it. And so therefore it gets the asterisk. And so it's unfortunate because it's like there's no credible third party that can look at the Bellator list and the UFC list and make a true ranking list 1 through 15 that incorporates all active fighters in the major fight promotions. That is why we need That is why we need something like the Ali rule to extend over to MMA so that it moves the power of the rankings and things like that to the commissions. And now we've got an impartial third party that's actually ranking fighters based upon where they are and who they fought. And what that means is that ladders start making sense again. And if you say it, I'm out. I don't have anything else to drink. If you say it, I can't participate.
I'm just gonna preempt. Okay.
I just love when you talk Ali rule because it's a perfect lead into mine. But this week, I won't bring it up for 1 week.
All right.
And what's that you're trying to bring up again, Casey?
Salt and Pepper being the best walkout music that has ever existed. What a man. Right. Are you kidding me?
Because now John's going to know. Look, this show has gone long. We got to end this show. So we're going to end the show very quickly with the fight card. All right, this is the fight card. There are no UFC fights this weekend, but Bellator has a fight on Friday night, April 2nd, 2021. Bellator 255, Pitbull versus Sanchez 2 at Mohegan Sun Arena in Uncasville, Connecticut. There were supposed to be 6 fights on the card, but unfortunately, Matt Mitrione was not able to fight, so that card has been rescheduled, and there are 2 other fighters whom we don't know. But what we'll do is we're just going to go through the list of fighters who are fighting. We're not going to make any picks tonight, just because, I don't know about y'all, but I am not as well versed about who these fighters are. There are some recognizable names. There's one that I am honor bound to pick because of rule number 1. But let's go through the names. Kat Zingano made her, found herself some new life over in Bellator. She's fighting Olivia Parker. You got Alejandra Lara versus Kana Watanabe. We've got Neiman Gracie versus Jason Jackson. Usman Nurmagomedov. There you go. I'm picking him. Versus Mike Hamill. And in the main event of the evening, Patricio Ferrer, aka Patricio Pitbull, is fighting Emmanuel Sanchez in a rematch for the, I think it's the featherweight title. Or maybe it's lightweight title. I think it's lightweight title.
One of those
titles. So there you go. Follow us on social media. On Instagram, I'm at Combat Sports Talk.
I'm at Keys to Victory, and that's Keys with the ES.
I am at Push Pull Pray on Instagram.
All right, and George, who wasn't able to join us tonight, is at Darkside_Muay Thai_. You can find us on our website at www.combatsportstalk.com, and we are on all of your favorite social media platforms. Right there. I have to move this down now. I have to move this. There we go.
Yeah, I can do that.
There we go.
Is it this way? Yeah,
there it is.
Right there.
All right.
Right there.
I want to send a shout out to MMA Junkie, MMA Fighting, MMA Mania, Bloody Elbow, and the Intelligent Defense Discussion Group, and all the other sites providing the stories that we use on our show. Of course, the MMA, the Intelligent Defense Discussion Group is our show's discussion group where a lot of the conversations that you hear on the show first begin. So, on behalf of John Keys and Kelechi Casey Onyebuchi, my name is Ryan Smith, reminding you to keep your hands up, your chin tucked, and throw bombs. We'll catch you next time.